Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. The new Union Cabinet meets for the first time. Prime Minister Modi urges the Cabinet colleagues to be humble and never compromise on probity and transparency. Prime Minister Modi signs his first file in his third term related to farmers' welfare. 93 million farmers to benefit from around $2.5 billion disbursement. Centre-right European People's Party emerges as the largest group in the European Parliament with 191 seats. Von der Leyen is likely to get another term at the helm. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Egypt to meet the President al-Sisi before traveling to Israel. That meeting has taken place, and Biden's three-phase ceasefire proposal is being discussed. The inaugural meeting of the Modi government, its third term, is currently underway in New Delhi, marking the commencement of the Prime Minister and his team in their third term. Now, the ministers gathered around the table, and the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and a sense of determination as well. It reflects the weight of responsibility entrusted to them by the citizens of India. Discussions are likely to encompass a wide array of issues. These range from economic policies to national security strategies as the government sets its agenda for the upcoming term. With a mix of seasoned veterans and fresh faces, the cabinet is poised to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, guided by the vision of progress and prosperity for the nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that it has been his constant endeavour to make the Prime Minister's office a hub of service and the people's and make his office a people's PMO. The Prime Minister was addressing officials of the Prime Minister's office on Monday after taking charge as the Prime Minister for a third term.
ये PMO सत्ता केंद्र बने, PMO शक्ति केंद्र बने, ये न मेरी इच्छा है, न मेरा वो रास्ता है। और इसलिए 2014 से हमने जो कदम उठाए, आपने मार्क किया होगा, और पहले जो पीएमओ में रहे होंगे उनसे पूछ लेना। हमने इसको एक कैटलिक एजेंट के रूप में ही डेवलप करने की कोशिश की है। वो कैटलिक एजेंट के यहां से ऊर्जा प्रसारित होती रहे, यहां से नई नई चेतना प्रसारित होती रहे, जो पूरे तंत्र के अंदर एक प्रकार से विद्युत की तरह नई चमक दे, नई रोशनी दे, नई सामर्थ्य दे। और मेरी कोशिश रही है कि पीएमओ ये सेवा का अधिष्ठान होना चाहिए, पीएमओ ये पीपल्स पीएमओ होना चाहिए, ये मोदी पीएमओ नहीं हो सकता है। और इसलिए मेरे दिल दिमाग में सिवाय 140 करोड़ कोई नहीं, और मेरे लिए 140 करोड़ नागरिक नहीं है, मेरे लिए 140 करोड़ परमात्मा का रूप है। और जब मैं सरकार में बैठ करके कोई निर्णय करता हूं तो मैं सोच रहा हूं कि मैंने आज 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को इस रूप में मैंने पूजा की है, और उनके चरणों में मैंने इस योजना के रूप में एक पुष्प चढ़ाया है। उस भाव से मैं काम करता हूं। इस टीम ने मुझे 10 साल में बहुत कुछ दिया है, उसमें हम और नया क्या कर सकते हैं, और अच्छा कैसे कर सकते हैं, और जल्दी कैसे कर सकते हैं, और ज्यादा स्केल पर कैसे कर सकते हैं। अगर उन चीजों को लेकर के आप साथ ही आगे बढ़ते हैं तो मुझे पक्का विश्वास है कि 140 करोड़ देशवासियों ने आपके पुरुषार्थ को मोहर लगाई है, ये चुनाव मोदी के भाषणों को मोहर नहीं है, ये चुनाव आपके 10 साल के हर सरकारी कर्मचारियों के पुरुषार्थ को मोहर लगी हुई है। इसलिए इस विजय के बड़े हकदार अगर कोई है तो आप लोग हैं। इस विजय के सच्चे हकदार कोई हैं तो भारत सरकार के हर कर्मचारी भी हैं कि जिन्होंने एक विजन के लिए अपने आप को खपा देने में कोई कमी नहीं रखी और देश में पहले से बहुत तेज गति से काम हुए, जिसका परिणाम भी नजर आ रहा है। लेकिन मैं एक नई ऊर्जा के साथ, नए हौसले के साथ आगे बढ़ना चाहता हूं। मैं विराम करने के लिए पैदा नहीं हुआ।
And our correspondent Vishal Barristo is covering the cabinet meeting, and he's joining us now on the phone line with an update. Vishal, put into context the importance of this, the first cabinet meeting of the Modi 3.0 government.
Well, a very good evening to you, Mark. Let me tell you that this is going to be a very different, very unique 3.0 because this is the first time that an alliance government is in power because BJP could not secure that 372 magic figure, and now the other parties are also coming into play. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi is already wary of the situation, and in his speech to the people in the PMO, he said that I want it to be a people's PMO. It can't be a PMO of Modi. That means that it should cater to the demands and needs of the common man. And he also said that we have won this election not because of my speeches, but because of the dedication and hard work of the employees who work for the government and who work for a vision. This was his speech. As far as the portfolios are concerned, we need to wait for some time before the portfolios are distributed. Mark?
Right. Thanks very much, Vishal, for joining us. We are also joined by Amit Mukherjee, who's following the story closely from the newsroom. Amit, so all eyes are on, the portfolio allocation. Any information that's coming in regarding that?
Well, Mark, everybody's carefully watching what is going on right now at the NDA meet, where the portfolio allocation is going to happen, and it will be made public in a short while from now. But the key things that we are looking at right now is what happens to the key portfolios which have been, which were there manned by senior persons like Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari. So whether the ones which were being held on to by in the Modi 2 government by the senior BJP leaders, whether they continue to be, they will continue to hold on to those portfolio. Number two, we'll also be looking at the NDA alliance partners. Now, 11 newly elected MPs from the alliances have been inducted into the cabinet yesterday during the oath-taking ceremony, which we all saw, witnessed the 2 hour and a 50-minute marathon-long oath-taking ceremony. So, what happens to those 11 people who have been inducted into the Modi 3 cabinet? Point number 4, also senior BJP leaders like Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who have been, MP, Chief Minister for a long time, Manohar Lal, who has been the Chief Minister of Haryana. Those are the key people, very senior BJP leaders. So what are the kind of portfolios they will be allocated? That is what everybody is looking at. Also, Mr. JP Nadda, who has been the BJP president, he has been inducted in the newly formed cabinet. So what is it that he will be looking at? A lot of ministers, have been, not named in the oath-taking ceremony this time. So those key portfolios, who will be getting, charge of those portfolios? So all these things, everybody is very closely watching as the NDA cabinet meeting for the NDA, the new cabinet form allocation is underway. Mark?
Right, we leave it there. Thanks very much, Amit Mukherjee. So still, we wait for the portfolio allocations, but one may presume that Dr. Jaishankar is the External Affairs Minister, because a day after taking oath as a cabinet minister and the Prime Minister led a Modi government, Dr. Jaishankar called on the leaders of the neighboring countries. He's done so perhaps in the capacity that he was the External Affairs Minister in the outgoing government. And Jaishankar met the Maldivian President, Dr. Mohamed Muisi, on Monday, and he expressed the hope that India and Mali will work together. Dr. Jaishankar also called on Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and said that the two countries continue to share friendly ties. Dr. Jaishankar also called on Bhutan's Prime Minister Shering Tobgay. Besides that, Dr. Jaishankar met the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe and recognized the steady progress in India-Sri Lanka relations. Jaishankar also called on Prime Ministers of Nepal, Mauritius and the Vice President of Seychelles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the only leader since 1962 who has become Prime Minister for a third consecutive term after completing a full tenure of each of his previous terms. World leaders including Barack Obama, Justin Trudeau, Shinzo Abe, Angela Merkel have won elections, but some of them could not complete their full tenure, and also when they were elected again, their vote percentages dropped. Here's a report.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the only leader in the broader democratic world post-World War II who has been elected for a third consecutive term after completing the full tenure of each previous term and with a consistent vote share in each election. There are few leaders in the democratic world who have had the opportunity to win 2 or more consecutive elections after the Second World War. Former US President Barack Obama won 2 consecutive terms in 2008 and 2012, but his vote percentage dropped in second time. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has also won the elections 3 times in a row in 2015, 19 and 21. But for the second time, his government could not complete its tenure. Japan's former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe also achieved these 3 consecutive victories in 2012, 14 and 17. Before this, he was also the Prime Minister in 2006 and 7. But none of his governments could complete their tenure.
The victory in the 2024 general elections are all owing to the Prime Minister Modi, his popularity. As you all know, around the world, his ratings for last several years have been no less than 77-78% around the world. So that speaks for itself.
Margaret Thatcher, also known as Iron Lady of Britain, won the 3 elections in a row in 1979, 1983 and 1987. But none of her governments could complete their tenure and their vote percentage kept falling in every election. Similarly, Tony Blair also won the elections in Britain 3 consecutive times in 1997, 2001 and 2005. But like Thatcher, none of his governments could complete their tenure. In Australia, John Howard won 4 elections in 1996, 98, 2001 and 2004. His first government could not complete its term and the vote percentage declined in the second election. In Germany, Angela Merkel won 4 elections in 2005, 2009, 13 and 17, but her vote percentage dropped in the second election. Vishal Baristo's report for DD India.
What's still to come here on DD India Live? French President Macron dissolves parliament and seeks a fresh parliamentary mandate after losses in the EU polls. Pakistan's central bank has cut its key interest rate by 150 basis points.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, the far right has made gains in the European Union elections, even as the Centre, Liberal and Socialist parties were set to retain a majority in the 720-seat parliament. The vote has come as a major setback to the leaders of both France and Germany, whose parties have suffered losses. In France, President Macron's party has called a snap poll, while the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats have registered their worst result ever. Rightwards shift inside the European Parliament may make it tougher to pass new laws. The incumbent European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that she wanted to build a majority in EU's Parliament for a strong and effective Europe and was confident that she would win a new mandate.
Yes, I am confident, but of course I know that there's still a lot of hard work ahead of me. I'm happy to address this work, but I'm definitely confident what my running for a second mandate is concerned. My aim is to continue on this path with those who are pro-European, pro-Ukraine, pro-rule of law. And as of tomorrow, this work starts again.
In some news that shocked France, the President Emmanuel Macron on Sunday called for a snap parliamentary election. Macron's decision came after he dissolved the parliament because of his party's unsatisfactory results in the recent EU election. Macron was trounced in the European Union vote by Marine Le Pen's far-right party, the National Rally. Now, according to the exit polls, the National Rally party won around 32% of the vote, more than double Macron's 15%. Macron's widely unexpected decision could leave him in a nearly powerless position if the National Rally wins the parliamentary majority.
Consultation prévue à l'article 12 de notre Constitution.
After having proceeded with the consultations as provided in the Article 12 of our Constitution, I decided to give back to you the choice for the future of our Parliament with a vote, and so I am dissolving tonight our National Assembly. This is not a good result for parties that defend Europe, including the presidential majority. The parties of the far right, which in recent years oppose so much progress driven by our Europe, these parties are making gains everywhere around the continent.
Que la parole soit donnée au peuple souverain, rien n'est plus républicain.
So Ross Cullen joins us from Paris with more on the French polls. Well, Ross, this vote against Macron, is it being seen, by people, commentators as such, that, Macron is losing his appeal, his popularity?
Well, his popularity is certainly overshadowed by that of the previous Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, who is no longer Prime Minister, hoping to be reappointed if Macron's party did win the election on the 7th of July after the second round. But there's a possibility we could have a Prime Minister from the far right, likely 28-year-old Jordan Bardella, if the National Rally were to win that election. And we do understand that this afternoon, local time here in France, the National Rally themselves, Jordan Bardella, the party leader, Marine Le Pen, the party heavyweight, and representatives from Reconquête, so Reconquest, another far-right party, also did win some seats in the European Union elections. And actually the key figurehead for Reconquest is Marine Le Pen's niece, Marion Maréchal. They are meeting this afternoon to work out if there's a way they can come up with mutually beneficial election strategies. For example, not running rival candidates in the same constituency. That's something we saw on the left last time round in 2022 in the most recent general election, when the far left, the centre left, communists and Greens would not run against each other in that coalition. The left are talking about if they can revive that coalition this time round, and we understand the far right are in discussions later this afternoon to see if they can come up with some form of coalition that would help them cement their place as the most popular political movement in France at the moment.
And what about the decision itself to, call these elections? Is it being looked at, that this is a wise move, something that is calculated, Or would there have been pressure on him to call for the elections because of the bad results, and he preempted that?
Well, it was likely, if you look at the commentariat, that he was going to be calling elections before the end of the year. Many people thought he would let the European Union elections play out, and then we would have the Paris Olympics, followed by the Paris Paralympics, and then maybe in September, October, Emmanuel Macron might come back to the question of if he wanted to call early elections. The elections aren't due until 2027, but he has decided to advance them, not just before 2027, but even before the Olympics. So we do have this radically shortened, rapid-fire election campaign now, just 3 weeks until the first round on the 30th of June. Certainly a decision that is reserved for the president if he wants to dissolve parliament, and the decree to dissolve parliament was signed on Sunday night local time here in France. Certainly seems a gamble. If you look at the press, they are calling it double or quits. They're calling it an extreme bet or an extreme wager, a high risk strategy. We will see in the coming 3 weeks if the polls point towards another National Rally victory after that party's victory in the EU elections on Sunday.
Ross Cullen in Paris, thanks very much. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Egypt on Monday to push for a ceasefire in Gaza and prevent the conflict from spreading to Lebanon. Blinken met the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo before traveling to Israel later on Monday, where he will meet with the Israeli Prime Minister and the Defense Minister. This is his 8th visit to the region. The top US diplomat is also set to travel to Jordan and Qatar this week. The visit follows President Joe Biden's proposal for a 3-phased ceasefire plan, which includes ending hostilities, releasing of the hostages as well as prisoners, and rebuilding Gaza. And Sarah Coates is with us. She's joining us from Tel Aviv with more. Sarah, how seriously is the Israeli administration taking the Biden peace proposal?
Hello there. Well, we do need to remember just the amount of pressure that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing. And this is one of the reasons that the War Cabinet member, Benny Gantz, who's really seen as a centrist voice, a centrist figure, that he walked away from that War Cabinet overnight over what he says is Netanyahu's real refusal to try and achieve these war goals in a timely manner and bring back these Israeli hostages. So certainly a very difficult diplomatic tightrope that the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be walking. He's coming into a very different political situation here on the ground with the departure of Benny Gantz, potentially leaving open room for the more far right-wing figures in the coalition, specifically the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and also the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich to step in. And we do need to remember that the far right has really been also pressuring Netanyahu not to agree to any kind of deal with Hamas, and they've also been threatening to walk away from the government. So it's a very difficult position that Netanyahu is facing. And then a third and lastly, we need to remember the amount of pressure that he's really facing from the families of these remaining hostages that do remain in the Strip.
Well, Sarah, also Israel is pressing on with the central and southern Gaza offensive. That's what reports say. So what's the current status of the operations?
Well, the Israeli military has actually just given an operational update. It says that several Hamas operatives have been killed in strikes in the central part of the Strip over the last few hours. And you said it there, heavy fighting happening in the central part, also down in the south. And this is the area that the IDF maintains that 4 remaining Hamas battalions are stationed, and potentially some of these Israeli hostages. So certainly really doesn't appear as though the war will be ending in Gaza anytime soon. But We also need to remember the situation that is currently ongoing, intensifying, escalating on Israel's northern border with Lebanon. It's a massive increase of fire between Hezbollah and Israeli forces, with the United States extremely concerned that if a ceasefire doesn't come into play very, very soon, and that this northern front isn't contained, that this could then spill out into a wider regional war, which could potentially involve Iran. Mark.
Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv, thank you very much. Now, the two-day BRICS foreign ministers meeting began in Nizhny in Novgorod, which is in Russia, on Monday. The Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov is hosting his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi for talks on the sidelines of the BRICS foreign ministers meeting. Both leaders discussed issues related to the further development of BRICS, including the idea to allow the accession of new countries to the group. Russia is due to host the summit level of the leaders in October of the BRICS group in the autumn, as we said. Pakistan's central bank cut its key interest rates by 150 basis points on Monday. The decision marked the first rate reduction in nearly 4 years in its effort to boost growth amid a sharp decline in retail inflation. The State Bank of Pakistan last changed interest rates in an emergency meeting in late June last year, when it raised rates by 100 basis points to a record high of 22%. Now, as the economic activity slowed over the last 2 years in Pakistan, the GDP growth was expected to be at about 2.4% in the current financial year. The government said that it will target 3.5% this year, and it expects an uptick in economic activity following that. Amid Egypt's scorching heat wave this week, an indoor ski resort has hosted on Saturday a 4x4 car race through obstacles on a ski slope. The four-wheel rally, the cars were seen drifting on snow for what organizers say was the first time, not only for the audience in the Middle East and Africa, but also for the contestants themselves, who were used to racing in sandy, deserty conditions. Now, the event was attended by an audience who had all-day access to the snow park through previously purchased tickets. Sounds of ferocious drumming and cheering crowds filled the air as dragon boats made their way, and this is through Hong Kong on Monday. The city is celebrating the annual Dragon Boat Festival. Hundreds of paddlers made a splash on the waters of the Aberdeen Harbour, where a total of 29 races marking the largest scale event of its kind in the city took place. While dragon boat racing originated in China's southern Lingnan region over 1,000 years ago, the modern version has found its roots in Hong Kong, which is a special administrative region of China, approximately 40 years ago. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook and etc. But you can also download our mobile app, the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS by scanning the QR code. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.